Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Harry Channel. With me tonight are minions Sora Luna.
Hello.
SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
And Spud Gun.
Good morning.
Or, I mean, it is morning for you. Just out of curiosity, are your sleep cycles really messed up? Because shouldn't you be asleep?
It's like 4 in the morning.
The chorus.
Yes and yes.
Yes. But there's not that there's anything wrong with that, because we love having you here.
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry I didn't see your message the other day, by the way, Spud, when I was hosting. I realized later on, talking about that math stuff, standard deviation stuff, that, I knew you would want to jump in on that, and come on the show next week. We'll pick that up.
No bother at all. You're absolutely fine. I understand that you and Prospero are like the two old women over the garden fence. Once you get going, that's it.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, Harry, I didn't mean to seize control.
You didn't mean to start recruiting in the middle of the introductions? Let's see. Are we offline? YouTube's saying that our current bit rate is higher than the recommended bit rate. Are we okay, or are we dead in the water?
Let me see. Let me see. Blah, 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 blah. We're fucked. We're fucked, Harry.
Oh, excellent.
We are fucked. We are fucked on YouTube. We are down.
That's fantastic. Okay, cool.
Oh, okay. Wait, we're back.
Yay.
That just.
Are we okay? We're good?
Now we seem to be back.
All right. Well, I love it when a plan comes together. Okay.
Yeah, no, and Keeverdam noticed it was gone too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was actually watching a video on Keeverdam's channel. It was a video of her watching Minions. So it was me watching her watching us, which was very, very surreal.
Yeah. Right.
So, let's see, Sora, her mic is offline. Are you offline, or are you just muted? Oh, she got bumped off. Okay, you're just suffering from Canadian internet. Well,
I touched the wire. And disconnected myself. Sorry.
That's okay.
Canadian internet.
So how is the spring in the upper part of the left coast? I'm sorry, the what is it? It's still summer, right? When is fall? Isn't it fall yet? Damn it.
No.
I hate summer.
The seasons are reversed in Canada, like Australia, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're in the depths of winter here.
Yeah, well, you wish. It might actually rain there.
Frost has taken over. Yeah. We have taken to eating the dead.
Damn.
It's like you go from 0 to 1,000 in one phrase.
All right.
And we're eating the dead.
So is there anything you would like to share before we jump into all of the articles or topics or whatever we're going to call them?
I don't know.
Can I throw something in?
Sure, you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Keeverdam for keeping a track on what was happening on YouTube when you thought the stream had gone to pot.
Yeah, I actually initially tried to stream live to my channel at the same time, and it didn't go well. So after I killed that,
didn't go.
Yeah, it just returned no work when I tried to do it, and it's like, this is not good. Let's see. So, Sora, did you have anything you wanted to bring up before we get started?
No, but I will say that I might dip in and out. My doggy was given some meds for the vet today, and he's a little bit groggy. So I will try to warn in the side chat here when I have to just leave my desk.
Oh, just
I'm
mute your mic.
keeping an eye out on him.
Just mute your mic when you slip away, and I'll get it.
Perfect.
Okay. Hi, Skep.
But
how you doing, Harry?
Sorry, I feel like I just cut Sora off. Did I? Was there something else?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
No.
Hi, Skep.
How you doing, Harry?
Oh,
it's been an interesting week. It's been 1,000 degrees every day down here.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are going back to school. The grandkids are going back to school. We drive them all over the place, and life goes on. It's just one thing after another. And I've been installing a security system in my home based on this Wise camera nonsense, and just because I like to fiddle with stuff.
Okay.
But that's been kind of fun, having a functioning camera system throughout the house, and I can talk to people. Now I've got to get the trap guns set up and the claymores.
Yeah.
And we'll be good to go.
You are aware that you're supposed to point one into the claymore away from you, right?
Yeah, it actually says it on
If you're
claymore.
dyslexic, if you're dyslexic, do you just shoot yourself with the claymore by accident?
No, the claymore, there's a panel on it, and it says enemy or something.
Yeah, it says, but it basically says point
enemy.
this toward the enemy. Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
It does. It's in big raised letters. I mean, I've handled them. I've seen them, and they absolutely leave nothing to the imagination. And you can see how they work. How the shaped blast radius arc segment, I guess you'd say.
Well, there was a movie starring Bob Odenkirk, of all people. Now, he was a comedian,
Better Call
primarily,
Saul.
right? And then he ended up in Better Call Saul. He's actually very good in serious things. So a mostly serious, but not entirely serious movie is called Nobody. And he uses claymore mines to great effect in that movie, among other things.
Excellent.
I recommend that movie, actually. Not because it's a great movie, just because it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I like that movie.
May I pop in on this one?
Sure.
My sister's seen it, I think, 14 times because she just really enjoys it, because it's not trying to be some sort of highbrow, look how clever we are. It's what the old 80s action movies were.
Yeah.
It knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything else. And I thought it was brilliant.
Another movie that's worth a look is Sisu, or I might be mispronouncing it. It's Sisu, which is that Finnish war movie thing with essentially this old guy who's impossible to kill. Some nasty German N-words get in his way, and it doesn't go well for them. If you just want to watch a movie where a lot of bad people die comically, it's a great
the
movie.
Germans were black?
Yeah. the other N-word.
Was just hanging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sisu, and they made that movie for almost no money. I mean, they made that movie super on the cheap. If you're a history nerd and you watch that, you're gonna be, actually, that's not the right kind of. Shut up! I don't care if it's the right kind of take. It's a good movie. just watch it. But honestly, nobody is a more entertaining movie. If you want to be entertained, that's a movie. If you want a different kind of more, I don't know, visceral entertainment, that movie is really good. I like that movie. Anyway, what were we talking about? Let's see. I have a list of things. Maybe I can get myself reoriented. So last week I mentioned things I will judge people for, and I mentioned that things that I will think less of you, but you can still be my friend. And it's just really mostly about me being arbitrarily judgmental. And I mentioned that people use gaming chairs when they're not gaming. Yes, I will judge you for that. But I saw a guy on the way home by the side of the road. His Corvette had broken down, and he looked like he had Trumpian levels of spray tan on. And he was messing with his 10-year-old Corvette, which he obviously loved very much. And he was wearing one of those sleeveless shirts, like from a concert or something. And as outerwear, I'm just not a fan of the sleeveless shirt. If you're playing basketball, that's one thing. But if you wear a sleeveless shirt in public, no.
No. And also, if you're a marathon runner, sleeveless shirts are very handy because otherwise you chafe.
Yeah, but he wasn't doing athletics. He was basically just broken down by the side of the road with his ridiculous muscle car, wearing his ridiculous shirt from some concert he went to.
Pathetic excuse for a life.
I'm sure he's a very nice guy. But yeah, if you wear a sleeveless shirt, I will judge you. It's totally okay. There's a huge list of things that fall in this basic category.
What? Give us some other ones.
No, I'm going to do. No, I'm only going to do.
I want to see if I would judge them.
No, I'm only going to do one a show.
Oh, one a show?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to develop neuroses faster than that.
I'm going to have to, aren't I?
We're never going to catch up.
So Otter 841, we're just going to talk about him for a minute. I'm sorry, her. Let's see.
Otter 841.
The best Otter.
The best Otter.
Otter 841, where are you?
No. Here we go. Otter 841. So I won't bore you with all of this stuff here. But the gist of it is that they're still looking for Otter 841, and months have gone by, and nobody can find this freaking otter. Now, the Otter's got a radio direction finder on her, so why they can't seem to catch one otter when they regularly catch otters, the same otters every few years just to study them, is kind of raising some questions in my mind. But the otter hasn't done anything wrong in the last month. So there's people kind of going, just let her be. If you catch her, fine. Maybe she's turned over a new leaf. Maybe it was just her rebellious phase. But
it could be. I've been reading some of the interviews of some of the people. It just makes you want to give up on it. Here was one person interviewed by one of the local outfits there in Monterey. And this is Rana Zahayi, who comes from Saratoga.
Yeah.
They should just ensure, that the otter's safe in its ecosystem. It's ultimately, if that's here, that's what it means. And if that means putting up more signs and making sure surfers are aware of what's going on in the space around them, that's what matters at the end of the day. That's not a sentence that means anything.
Well, what about this? If you aren't just sitting around trying to look cute on your surfboard and you're actually surfing, maybe the otter won't bother you. Whenever you see the otter bothering somebody, it's when they're just sort of sitting around, posing. Maybe they're just shitty surfers, and the otter's trying to motivate them.
Or maybe they're pseudo surfers.
Hey, you don't surf.
You don't surf. Fuck you.
Your stupid shirt. This is one of my all-time favorite memes. All right.
That's still.
So they have not found Otter 841, and I'm beginning to think they never will. But if they do, they're saying they're going to put her in an aquarium somewhere.
Why?
Because they're afraid she might attack humans, because she seems to be completely unafraid of them.
Otter 841 went to Albuquerque and got a new identity.
I saw that show. Hey, Mary McCormick's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's see. What is the next thing? This is under things I find annoying. So when I was researching things for the show, I stumbled across a link and it just said how to overcome imposter phenomenon. And I'm like, I need to read this because it may not seem like it, but I'm frequently plagued by this sort of voice in my head that tells me I suck and I don't really know what I'm doing. And so I was looking at this and thinking, oh, good, imposter phenomenon. I start reading. And it says, up to 82% of people face feelings of imposter phenomenon, struggling with the sense that they haven't earned what they've achieved and are a fraud. There's ongoing fear of experiencing by high-achieving individuals that you're going to be found out or unmasked as being incompetent or unable to replicate past successes. And then it takes a turn which I honestly did not anticipate. While people commonly colloquialize the term, this says imposter syndrome phenomenon or experience are better terms because imposter phenomenon isn't a clinical diagnosis. It's especially prominent among people with underrepresented identities. For example, BIPOC people who work or study in predominantly white environments. And this was the point where my brain started melting down. It's like, no, you do not get to own this. Okay. I have been alive for decades fighting with this thing, and to turn to an article and basically be told, well, you may think you have it bad, but think about all the poor BIPOC people. It's like, no, this is not yours, okay? This is not yours to own.
Don't you feel kind of privileged having imposter syndrome having imposter syndrome and being white at the
I
same
know.
time.
I had it before it was cool. Now everybody wants to horn in on it. What's next? We're going to have
you colonized it first.
You're going to
Now they
have
just
people
want their land back.
Well, people will have like group therapy sessions, right? And everybody will show up to talk about, hi, my name's Harry and I have imposter syndrome. And they'll say, shut up, Harry. You're too high on the, you're not high enough on the progressive stack. You get to talk after all the black disabled lesbian women talk.
That is just how that works.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The idea that people should sort of own psychological quirks, right? That somehow a human phenomenon has to have a colored, racialized face to it. Why?
Right.
Stupid. Why does it have to be about race at all? Because everything has to be about race, apparently.
Because everything is about money, and race has become a way for people to obtain money and power.
Yeah.
Simple as that. That really is it. That's all it is.
For example, see Jonathan Greenblatt at the ADL.
He's a very influential person. He gets to decide who's racist or not, right?
Yeah, he gets to decide who's good and bad.
Well, in that case, paint me up with a funny moustache and a snazzy uniform.
Snappy uniform, nice bandolier.
Yeah, but this is not
Sam Brown.
This is not something I'm making up. I literally thought, yeah, this might be an interesting article. Maybe bring this up, and it's like really race.
Oh,
this is what the article's about, and the first few paragraphs are just boilerplate, right? And then it just gets into the struggle of people who aren't me. Like, no, you don't get to lift your leg and claim every emotional, psychological disorder just because reasons.
I want some.
Yeah.
Some of those are mine.
And to be clear, I don't particularly, just because I have some trait at some given moment, want to be defined by it. So I'm not looking for victim status here. It's like I'm sure everybody is plagued by imposter syndrome at one time or another. This whole idea of the spectrum.
Hi, Mom.
Well, it's like how by putting everything on a spectrum, everybody gets to pretend to be a victim.
Here's the thing. Imposter syndrome if you want to know who the people I think it affects the most, are the ones for whom there's not an explicit effectively rating system way to rate themselves relative either to others or to a set of goals attained or not attained. And when you have somebody who's like, say an independent contractor who's just out and he either makes money doing his stuff or doesn't make money, and maybe thinks, wow, even though I'm a smart guy and I understand all this stuff, really all I have is I'm just the guy who read the manual, and I'm doing easy things, and these people are paying me a whole bunch of money, and that makes me feel funny. That was my imposter syndrome when I was doing the computer biz for 30 years, and it used to come and haunt me periodically, because even when I could be rated on, here are your goals, here's that, I usually had a better idea of what the real goals ought to be, and my own insights as to what I was doing right and wrong were so much better than the people I was working with that I just ignored them.
Yeah, a lot of people just go through life being completely unaffected by sense of doubt. And
right.
And then there's the people that go all the way to the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Who think they're awesome even though they're bad. Yeah, too much confidence guy. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he's a nice guy, and he has thrown so much paying work at me that I feel guilty even saying this. But he has this bad habit of just sort of listening to half of what you say and then hand waving. Oh, yeah. So I was telling him about this particular program involving like backup batteries and solar and how you can get compensated for excess power. He says, I'm already part of that. I'm like, no, you're not. You don't even have backup batteries. It's like you don't even surf. Just you don't. It's I'm like, you literally can't possibly be there.
Take that shirt off.
I'm just
fuck you.
So many people just it's like I don't have time for details like whether I am or am not in a particular group. Yeah, whatever. I don't care.
See, well, this is my thing with right, because the push for blacks to be victims, and in fact, I'm going to say it go as far as non-whites being victims, is a fairly recent phenomenon. Because if you look, right, even after you had the whole slavery, Jim Crow era in the US, if you look at the original civil rights movement, it was all about, look, we're not asking for special treatment, we're just asking for a fair crack.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
And then basically since, to my mind, because you've got to remember, I'm probably younger than most here, I'm only 45. It's sort of at the beginning of the 2000s, there was a gentle push towards being a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And then victim books just make all the everything. You know, well, this happened 400 years ago, so ergo, you're a victim now. Right, and as much as I know people don't like Ben Shapiro, and I'll be honest, I don't. I think he's a bit of a gobshite. Right, he did make the point that if you look at the changes in sort of where blacks were at the beginning of the civil rights movement to now, you'll see that it's all gone completely and utterly fucking wrong.
Yeah. So I think you'll like the next story because we're still in this theme. Okay. I'm not really changing the subject. I'm just sort of changing the angle that we're looking at the subject.
Okay.
Hit British baking show ditches national themed weeks after people call them racist and tacky. Now,
right.
This was the Great British.
Wait, they ditched what?
Okay. Before I say a word, what?
Right. Fuck them and the horse they rode in on.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of that about to happen.
What is a national theme?
Okay, let me break this down for you. There is a show. There's a show called the Great British Bake Off in the UK, and it's called the Great British Baking Show, and they bring it over here because Pillsbury are a bunch of douche nozzles, and they've trademarked that to the point where they have to give it another name. But it's a show that's been running for, coming up on 10 seasons, or maybe it is 10 seasons, where they have a bunch of amateur contestants who compete for the title of the best baker in Britain. Okay? Perfectly wholesome, perfectly fine. The thing is, they usually have two judges, 13 contestants, two judges, and it's not like an American show where people are nasty to each other. Part of the charm of it is that everybody's actually, at least pretends to be really nice and decent, and they help each other out, and they're not terrible. So you like the people on the show. It's not a lot of bragging, not a lot of whatever. I like this show quite a bit. So
civilized,
but
instead of in your face taunting and all that.
So you've got two judges who know what they're talking about. Okay, two judges who actually are qualified to judge. And then you have two comedians typically who just sort of act as the fluffers for the show to just sort of keep things moving. And in this case, it's Matt Lucas and Noel Fielding, and they intentionally make bad jokes. There's sexual innuendo. There's bad jokes. It's not supposed to be taken seriously, but certain people seem to not be capable of not. They don't seem to get that the idea is it's supposed to be bad. It's supposed to be bad. So there was a bit of an uproar about 10, 11 months ago when this last season was on. And now they've finally decided that they're just going to do away with Mexican Week and Japan Week and all that sort of stuff. I have a little tiny bit of a sample here.
Bake Off is getting bored by fans.
So there's the comedians wearing sombreros.
The controversial theme has caused audiences to take to social media to criticize the show, citing various examples of stereotyping and cultural appropriation. The episode got off to a rocky start.
Stop. Pause it.
I already like this show.
Stop with your Americanized bullshit. Right, the rest of the world is not America. You do not have control over what is and isn't culture.
Well, you guys shouldn't have given in.
While fielding
We
appearing
fucking
costume-level
shouldn't.
sombreros and serapes in the very first scene. The pair debates whether or not they should make Mexican jokes at the risk of offending people.
I don't feel like we should make Mexican jokes because people will get upset. Not even Juan. Not even Juan. Hi, Functional.
Right.
Hello.
Hello.
So
I got sidetracked by doing dishes.
understood, man. So it's a baking show. It's a baking show. And there's not even cash prizes, although you will probably get a book deal if you do well on this thing. It's a baking show.
An exposure.
And the comedians are supposed to be bad. The jokes are supposed to be corny. But some people can't take a joke because they're so tied up in their ideology that it's just like... And I went through and looked at a lot of the social media stuff, and I thought about highlighting some of the worst examples of it, and it's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to give this any more oxygen.
Good for you.
I would
Thank you
rather
for
eat
sparing
my own
the world
face.
Yeah. Now they do mispronounce things constantly, but I can
British.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if British people can say penguin or guacamole or salsa or churro correctly. Penguins. It doesn't matter.
Tomato.
Yeah. I mean, if we're all just like hoisting a pint and we're in a pub somewhere and we want to argue about the correct pronunciation of aluminum or aluminium, I don't care.
It's aluminium.
I don't care.
Stop.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
We can get over it.
It does matter.
We
It's
can
an
all
American
be
invention.
friends.
It was named.
You guys can't even
by an
spell
American.
theater correctly. Actually, who discovered aluminum? I don't know if it was... What? Are you
Sir
sure?
John A. Aluminum.
Alcoa. No, Alcoa was his name.
Hi, Elwin.
Alan Coa.
No, I don't think it was. Well, we can look that up later. If Serenity made it tonight, we could have her look it up, but we don't have our research department at the moment.
Oh, we need Serenity.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
Serenity's okay.
tired. She couldn't make it, unfortunately.
Dadgummit.
Yeah, I know.
Hans Christian Ørsted from Denmark was successful in 1825. However, apparently produced an aluminum alloy with the elements used in the experiments and then pure aluminum.
Aluminium. It's
That's alloy.
It's a European invention. Get stuffed. It's aluminium. See you later.
How dare you?
Yes.
I mean, there is an I in there,
Yeah.
so.
Aluminium.
This guy
Maths.
is famous for something else, by the way. Orsted, he was a magnetism and electricity guy, I think.
Yep.
He was. I think of him is in the same vein as Faraday and Maxwell, and
Hate camel. Everyone knows it's pronounced tin. Yeah, that good old Roman aluminum. Okay. So I don't really plan the show. The schedule just sort of evolves organically, and I go, these things belong next to other things. So I cleverly got the idea to push these things together. So the Lotus Eaters were on today, or recently this week, and Carl Benjamin decided to go on some sort of rant about Mexican food and how it's not good. Well, let me just share a little bit of this, because for the longest time, I couldn't figure out if he was joking or whether he wasn't, and I'm afraid he's actually serious.
And now you
Carl being an idiot? No.
No, I'm going to use this as an example. How are you going to taste something that doesn't come to your mouth totally coated in chili? You can't.
What?
Right? That's the problem. How are you going to distinguish one flavor from another? You can't. As in, you can't actually savor and appreciate your meal.
That boulders.
Look at this example he's going to give.
Exactly.
Oh, I've seen.
Whereas with
He
this,
was
you
on about
can
this on Twitter
actually
too.
choose how
Yes.
to craft the flavor yourself.
Yeah,
There
I
is
saw this all on Twitter.
a measure of sophistication that goes into the British meal. But also,
Sausage
the
and
fact that
mashed
these are
potatoes is
decent quality ingredients
sophistication.
that actually
Wait, hang on. Pause it
A
sec,
good
Harry.
mashed potatoes, man, can save the
Right.
world.
No, what he's not talking about the individual ingredients. He's talking about what he's talking about with the sophistication is you can actually decide on what flavors you have because you've got the gravy, you've got the mash, you've got the peas, you've got the sausages. Okay, you don't get all things all the time. Okay, because
not how cooking works. You're not going to taste the individual ingredients of that sausage because that sausage is a singular prepared item. The paella that they had before is a single prepared item. There's no point in choosing how to eat it. And even in that scenario, yes, you can, because you can have more of the rice and a piece of sausage, or less of the rice and a piece of shrimp. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Well,
he has an opinion. He's just wrong.
Well, yeah.
Okay, but
This feels like he's doing this on purpose just to...
Oh, absolutely.
That's what I thought, but I think he's serious. I think he's not...
It's narrow and superficial. It's a stupid opinion. It's based on a tiny amount of sample. I doubt that he's done anything approaching a survey of all the different kinds of Mexican food, all the different ways you can have different things prepared. There's all to reject all of Mexican food is to reject, just this to throw the baby out with bathwater.
I suspect he has not had really good Mexican food, nor does he understand what's involved in it.
I sent him a message and I said, "Come to Texas, and I will take you out for decent Tex-Mex."
Well, no, he actually said that Texas specifically, the way you barbecue your meat down there.
That was the tweet I was replying to.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
Oh, he's totally a British supremacist when it comes to food.
Yeah.
At least.
Okay. Functional. One thing you should know about me, because I don't think you know this. I call myself culturally British because my English grandmother cooked for me and taught me how to cook initially.
Yeah, you've mentioned.
I grew up eating this kind of food. Okay, so I have no animosity whatsoever to a good Sunday roast, Yorkshire pudding. I've eaten all of the little egg dishes, and the toast and jam was a pretty common, or just toast and tea was what I had for breakfast most of the damn time growing up.
Cucumber sandwiches.
I had a great time, but the idea that I don't think he understands that Mexico is a big place with lots of different provinces, much like India. There are all these different places, and they all have very unique cuisine based on local ingredients. And any place where grandma wakes up at 3 a.m. and takes 30 ingredients and simmers them in a pot, I think deserves not to be dismissed quite so readily, whether that person has a dot on their forehead or is just, wearing a sombrero or whatever.
Amen, brother.
Right.
Well said.
The point being, though, if you have to coat your food in spices to the point where the spice is the outstanding flavor, then you've lost the culinary battle. When the spice is the flavor that hangs about, that's where you lose it.
Are you familiar with mole? The Mexican sauce mole? Mole is not just a thing; it's a class of sauce, and it's extremely layered in terms of the dried chilies and the nuts and all the things that go into it. It is complicated. There's a famous he's an American who's sort of famous for doing Mexican cooking, and I apologize because I know some people in the chat really hate it when we talk about food. This is not going to go much longer. Named Rick Baseless.
Sanguine stream.
I know who. Well, no, we're continually moving forward on this. So the point is that Rick Baseless talks about making mole. That in itself is it's like learning a French master recipe. It is extremely complicated. And that's just one. It's just one thing, and it completely neglects all of the amazing types of tacos and other dishes that are available.
You can't take shortcuts. You really cannot.
And some Mexican food is actually very simple. Yeah, some Mexican food is actually extremely simple.
Mole is not.
Mole is not. I don't mean to beat this point to death. It's just that I was looking at this video thinking, man, it reminds me a lot of a guy with a very small penis driving a very big truck. It feels like copium.
It does.
It really feels like he's trying to compensate for something. Like my mom really is the prettiest or whatever. I don't know.
The thing is that they're such a different type of food too that he's comparing in those pictures. Like even the flavor profiles, because in these cultures they have their 2-3 ingredients easy to make because you're tired from work meals too.
Mm-hmm.
No one is sitting there making paella every single day.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. That's why I thought, like, when I saw that, I was like, oh, he's just joking. But I can see him being the type of person who would actually, he's being
being a British supremacist.
He is. And, that's okay. I actually would be sad if he was anything but that. But I feel like there are so many regional cuisines. Like the Pacific Northwest has amazing food with a lot of really fresh seafood. And California has its own sort of California cuisine going back into the 80s when people like Alice Waters and Chez Panisse opened. He's going on later to talk about the quality of the bread that he puts the Heinz beans on top of. And it's like, I'm sorry, this argument is not compelling me. We have good bread here too. There are really amazing bakeries every bit as good as the ones in Europe that we have here. Although I'm sure the master bakers in Austria can make a strudel way better than we can, because that's like a whole career path. Sorry, Functional, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Strudel here.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Functional?
I mean, where do you think they came from? I mean, they all came from. I mean, that's part of the great. That's part of the success story of the great melting pot theory. We get food from all over the world. Here we are fortunate enough here in my city that there is a master level soba maker, and that shop, oh my God. I mean, I thought I knew what fucking food was, but then I tried something that was just, from the motherland, straight from Japan, or probably one generation removed. But like, brings that with them. It's not like I could go and don't get me wrong, I've had soba noodles that were really good, but this was just so far and wide a head and shoulders above the rest that I was like, oh wow. And to your point, I don't think when he came here, Tim Pool probably took him to like some diner that sells tacos or something, or a Taco Bell, like just something. He'd never had an authentic paella. He's never had authentic carne asada.
If it was spicy, it was not Taco Bell.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with the Jolly Channel?
No.
It's a couple British guys that just travel all over Britain and the US and other places, just trying out stuff. And wherever the Jolly guys go, they always seem to be pretty darn happy. They go to the South, they have biscuits and gravy. They go to Texas, they have barbecue. They go all around places and have a great time trying all kinds of different stuff. It's the opposite of this. So I kind of feel like the Lotus Eaters are the unjolly channel. It's sort of like, nope, went there, tried it, wasn't very good. You all suck. Our food's the best.
So that guys are called the Jolly Channel.
Yeah.
And so these guys are sourpuss.
Yeah. Sour eaters.
The thing is, I like Carl Benjamin.
If it was more sour than spice. But
I like Carl Benjamin. I like English food. I really do. I was raised on it.
I do too. But I mean, their cuisine for the longest time was a joke.
I can't do the organ meats, but I love a roast and Yorkshire pudding.
Sure,
from
yeah.
God.
But also recently, and this is where I will give the British food scene, is that they revitalized not only themselves and their own cuisine, but helped inspire this big wave of, what do you call it, foodtainment, where people are taking notice and people are finally getting recognized for being really amazing chefs and getting a little bit of, like fame and investment on their end, which, it just keeps that ball rolling and it gets bigger and bigger. And so I'll give that because they started that. the Marco Pierre White and to a lesser extent
Celebrity
Ramsey
chefs.
and so,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm fine with the two fat ladies. So they don't have to be.
well,
they
I
don't
mean,
have
I
to
was-
be. They don't have to be celebrities. What's wrong with a couple fat old ladies with a motorcycle sidecar driving around making classic stuff? I'm fine with it.
If you can cook, you can cook.
I love that one of them was a barrister. One of them was a barrister, and the other one was like a judge for like cricket matches or something. I couldn't keep track, unfortunately.
An umpire.
Yeah,
Hang on.
but they were pretty awesome. So let's see. I think
it's a real sport.
it's based on actual numbers, but we should
baseball for intelligent people.
before we. Oh, let's see. Why are we having a conniption about Sargon again? Because his coping is epic and annoying, and so I thought I would just sort of take a small swipe at him because he's being a giant nitwit.
Oh,
He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Go on record. I actually got to meet him in person, have a 10-minute conversation with him, and we really talked about 3 or 4 different important things. He's an intelligent and a legitimately nice guy. He's just wrong on this.
He's just wrong. We just need to convince
just
him.
Wrong.
We just need to feed him
Gotta fix
better
it.
food, and we could fix this.
We can fix it.
We can fix him. We have the technology.
We can build it back.
Here, have some Frango mint pie and shut up about Cadbury Flake. I'm sorry. Cadbury is. I made a comment about some other thing. I was stupid. I should know better than to do anything involving talking to English people about chocolate. Okay, but I made a comment on some video where I think it was Smith and some other guy. They were talking about how bad American chocolate is. I totally agree. But you're eating like Hershey's chocolate. It's like if you're an adult, how much chocolate do you eat in a year? Just eat something that doesn't suck. I mean, comparing like chocolate for children in the UK to chocolate for children in the US is not even an interesting comparison for full-grown men with money. I just don't get it. But yeah, some English people got very touchy about it. I mean, I started getting all these comments from people saying, well, what do you know about it? What's the best chocolate you've ever had? It was Patrick chocolate. It was brown butter dark chocolate, and I bought it at the Chocolate Garage in Palo Alto, where I've sampled probably about 100 different chocolates and taken classes on chocolate tasting. So yeah, I actually am able to have an opinion about chocolate.
So I don't know if
I know it's a weird
there,
flex.
but in Liberties in London, they have a chocolate room. So I hope it still exists. And that is a whole room of the most wondrous different truffles and chocolate bars from around the world. And it's just amazing. So they need to go eat there.
Yeah.
Blue chocolate river or chocolate waterfall?
Yeah.
No.
I love
I'm totally Augustus Gloop myself in that shit.
But I do love, like HP sauce. And honestly, I'll say this. I think English beer is, on the whole, much better than American beer. I mean, hands down.
It is.
I love English beer.
That's a low bar.
The sour lagers of America, the Schlitz and the Budweiser and oh God.
I really like Adnam's Broadside.
I understand it.
Yeah, the trouble is that your beer's really expensive. Go ahead.
It was Clarissa Dixon Wright who was the former barrister.
Mm-hmm.
And would you like to know what her full name is?
Sure.
Hang on. Clarissa, Teresa, Philomena, Aileen, Mary, Josephine, Agnes, Elsie, Trilby, Louise, Esmeralda, Johnston, Dixon, Wright.
Nice.
Wow.
Her parents.
Philomena has a lovely name. I like that name.
Yeah. What was it again?
Which one, Sora?
Philomena.
Yeah, Philomena. That's nice.
I really like that name. That's such a pretty name. But that is either parents had her later, so they knew they may not have another child, or she was the last child in a group of boys and the first girl, or there's a lot of family that they have to name her after.
Or somebody lost a bet.
Just to keep the peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, her mother was Aileen Mary, so that's where that comes from.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
holy heck.
I feel like we could
That's
just
amazing,
start
though.
talking about beer if we're not really careful. It's like, Toss, stop trying to make me derail my own show. Okay.
Oh, hi, Toss. Sorry, I
Yeah.
missed you in the chat.
So there is a totally different
Is
topic.
Sherman
Yeah,
here?
he is.
That's true. Yeah.
I left out the full truth to get my climate change paper published.
I'm shocked.
Well, I'm shocked. No, but I'm shocked that he this is the guy who wrote the paper talking about himself. He actually came clean to say, look, I wanted to get this thing published. I'm a climate scientist, and while climate change is an important factor affecting wildfires over many parts of the world, it isn't close to the only factor that deserves our sole focus. So why does the press focus so intently on climate change as the root cause? Perhaps for the same reason I just did an academic paper about wildfires in Nature, and one of the world's most prestigious journals, it fits a simple storyline that rewards the person telling it. The paper I just published, Climate Warming Increases Extreme Daily Wildfire Growth Risk in California, focuses exclusively on how climate change has affected extreme wildfire behavior. I knew not to try to quantify key aspects other than the climate change in my research because it would dilute the story that prestigious journals like Nature and its rival Science want to tell.
This will last and get published.
This matters because it is critically important for scientists to be published in high-profile journals. In many ways, they are the gatekeepers for career success in academia. So
Science has been politicized.
yeah, in order for him to, so we always talk about the consensus. How much of it is consensus and how much of it is just not wanting to be crushed by the machine? And so here's a guy who says he understands it's a factor, but you look at the news and all they talk about is they're constantly trying to attribute an individual fire to climate change. It's kind of terrible.
Silly.
Yeah.
Well, I can clear it up for you in a meme. Right, I followed the science and couldn't find anything. I followed the money and I found the science. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned it before, and again, I mean, much like talking about cooking too much, I like to bring up Hermé Lakatos' philosophy of science work that he did, where he talked about the research program. And not that we have to go through all of what that is and the relationship to Popper and Kuhn and all that sort of stuff. That's not really the issue. The thing about Lakatos is he understood why scientists try to defend their theories. You know, why they form like this almost, they circle the wagons ideologically to sort of keep whatever the current paradigm is going. And you look at all the money that the government's throwing at certain types of research, you're going to write your grant proposals in a way that gets you funded because that's how you pay your mortgage. So when somebody gets in at the White House who has a particular agenda, it's going to reflect in the science that gets done, what gets funded. And so this selection pressure creates consensus where there might not otherwise be consensus. And to be clear, most scientists simply are arguing about degree. You know, there really isn't a whole lot of argument about maybe changing the composition of the atmosphere is bad. It's just a question of, are we all going to die in 4 years, you know, versus 400?
You've seen what happens to the people that the scientists refer to as climate deniers. They get marginalized. You can't go against the prevailing science. You can't have a theory that's different from that. You can have.
She is the science.
You become heterodox is what you become.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you end up just shouting at the wind on
Putting the
YouTube.
heretic and heterodox.
Well, you will get a chance to talk to Brett and Heather, but other than that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, I applaud this guy for actually being honest and writing this paper, because I think it actually took a fair amount of balls to come out and say what he said. Because the other aspect of this is by focusing only on climate, we're actually ignoring a lot of other issues, like the stuff that we talked about a few weeks ago, where I mentioned that study that UC Berkeley had done for 50 years. We're like, hey, what if we just don't stop the natural fires from spreading? What if we just let nature do what it's done for, millions of years? And it turns out the whole environment ends up being healthier.
Right. This is why we had controlled burns. Okay. Why you had fire breaks, controlled burns. because every now
Those
and
sound
then,
like such a good idea. Those controlled small burns,
Mhm.
where you control it and it doesn't rage out of control and destroy people.
well, there used to be hundreds and thousands of people who would move around and do this because what you wanted so that the forest could actually thrive was you wanted to get rid of all the dead biological matter, and the best way to do it was burn it, and then you had the resulting carbon which was fed back into the soil and helped its next growth cycle.
Well, there are some
And
plants that can't even live unless there's been a fire, like certain
Yeah.
types of flowers.
Fireweed.
Yeah, and a wild kefki appears.
Fire poppies. Hi, Kefki.
Honey made out of those kind of flowers is actually very delicious.
Now it's really turning into a
sell them.
sanguine stream.
If anyone ever has a chance of if someone
is
makes
Sanguine?
it, it's quite good. Oh, he'll be offline for about 2 weeks. He's on his birthday adventure.
Oh, that's right. Well,
So
speaking of large,
yesterday was
powerful
his last
things,
stream.
NASA finally admits to what everybody already knows: the space launch system is unaffordable. They've gone in and looked at how much it costs to use the ginormous rocket that they're trying to develop for this new series of moon missions, the one that sent the last Artemis mission.
Yeah.
And I know it's come as a shock to everybody, but it's way too expensive. Like, way too expensive.
Really?
Yeah. And so in this Ars Technica thing, they say they have poor tools to understand true costs. The Government Accountability Office expressed serious concerns about NASA's decision not to measure production costs of SLS rocket elements, including the core stages and rocket engines needed for future launches. Instead, NASA told the report authors that they plan to monitor production costs and affordability of the SLS program via the 5-year production and operations cost estimate. I think they're going to give themselves some carpal tunnel syndrome at headquarters if they keep this up. And they have a plan for how they're going to pare back the unsustainable costs. Now, Skep, try to brace yourself because this is some pretty bold, innovative stuff that's going to really get results.
Abstracted.
They're going to stabilize the flight schedule, meaning the trains are going to run on time.
Right.
Thus, mote it be. Achieve learning curve efficiencies.
Those they're gonna achieve those.
They're going to achieve learning curve efficiencies. I can hear Scott Adams in my head right now talking about, this is just persuasion. Okay.
Yes. Exactly.
They're going to encourage innovation. As opposed to what they've been doing for the last, decades. They're going to finally.
Why didn't we think of that?
They're going to bring costs under control by encouraging innovation. And they're going to adjust acquisition strategies to reduce cost risk.
So, in other words, absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
That was an entire waste of word processing.
It's so content free.
It really is. That means nothing.
Yeah.
That means absolutely nothing.
It is absolutely meaningless. To say that, this costs way too much money. Way too much money. What are you going to do about it?
Well,
I think we're going to
figure it out.
We're going to learn and we're going to encourage. And then we're going to adjust. It's going to be fantastic. I have every expectation that they are going to bring things under control. The people who I know who hate Elon Musk, who have a hate boner for Elon Musk, and say, SpaceX just accomplished all these things because even though Musk is an idiot, he's surrounded by smart people. How hard can it be? It can be really hard. Okay, because the people at NASA are not stupid.
No.
They're just not good at running things on a budget. Oh, they have budgets, excuse me. But it's not like a budget like a real business would have. This is nonsense. If Elon Musk was that incompetent, SpaceX would be a complete failure. If you put an incompetent person at the top of a business like that, it will just
SpaceX is
die.
one of the best run businesses I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're going to end up outsourcing this to SpaceX at this point because
they are. That's what I was going to say. What's really happening in slow motion is the passing of the torch from NASA to SpaceX, from a semi-public company to a publicly held but privately owned company, SpaceX, and once again, for profit beats collectivism. SpaceX would always be they did on a comparative shoestring what I mean, they stood on the shoulders of giants. I understand.
Yeah, they got a bunch of tech transfer from NASA, but that's not the point.
They sure, but that notwithstanding, they operate already at a substantially more efficient rate than NASA does. I guarantee you they do.
Oh, the numbers don't lie. I mean, they clearly do. And NASA has never come anywhere close to matching the launch schedule that SpaceX has. And even if you're just launching essentially a refurbished Titan missile with a Raytheon label slapped on the side, I forget who does actually that launch system. Still, SpaceX is doing amazing work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is what happens. I mean, I don't think Elon Musk is the smartest guy out there. He just has the right way of thinking. And by right, I mean he thinks like an engineer when he's dealing with engineering problems. He treats engineering problems as what they are, instead of these guys who are worried about everything but the engineering. How's it going to look? How are we going to get our funding? Are there enough people with the right amount of melanin in the... Because I don't know if... Did I mention it last week? Did I get to the article where some people in the government are getting down on SpaceX because they're not hiring enough migrants and asylum seekers?
Yes, I heard about that.
Yes, you did.
God. All right. Now I'm getting annoyed. Anybody have any other comments about this before we move on?
I certainly do.
Okay.
Right. The biggest problem that the government have had, the US government, with its two major launch systems since Apollo, that being Artemis now and the shuttle, is it's a compromise. Okay, because it's designed by committee, it's a compromise. Whereas if you look at Apollo, that was designed with a goal in mind. Okay, that goal was to put man on the moon. End of. There was nothing else. And that's why it kept putting man on the moon. Right. The idea behind the space shuttle was for it to be, I don't know if you're familiar with the term white van man. Right. It was basically meant to be a space truck. And because of different compromises with different parts of the US government and military and so on and so forth, it had to compromise. Whereas if you look at what SpaceX are doing with the Falcons, with the Falcon Heavy, it's built with a specific goal in mind. And that goal is to get things into space, either to the ISS or to get like Starlink satellites and other satellites. They're not compromising on what it's doing, and that's why it works so well.
They don't have to spread they don't have to distribute the making of the parts for it out to 50 states either. There are all sorts of political considerations in terms of the space shuttle. But the main thing about SpaceX isn't just about getting to space. It's not just about the goal. It's about the number of times you can achieve that goal. So the main thing about everything they do is really primarily about reusability so that they can meet an aggressive launch schedule. They're running it as a business. Now, NASA doesn't really have a competitor. The way they view it, it's like, we just have a goal, right? And there's a big difference between having a goal and having a competitor. When we were in a space race against the Russians, which we actually had won long before we knew we'd won it, there's actually one of my favorite English YouTubers, a guy named Rubba, RHUBBA. He did a really great two-part thing on the Apollo project. I should probably link that in the notes after the show's done. He's a really nice guy. I like him. I've chatted with him a few times. He's a good guy. But anyway, he having competition makes all the difference in the world. It's one thing to show up to work with a goal. It's another thing to actually show up and think, if I want to continue to exist, I have to beat this other guy.
But India's landing on the moon and China's landing on Mars.
Yep.
Can I Right. SpaceX, and I'm just having a nose here. It's a cost of 1,400 USD per kilogram to get into space, and basically the cost per kilo was 44 times higher on the space shuttle. So I'm just doing some quick maths. 1,400 times 44. Oh, that's painful. $61,600 US to get a kilogram of stuff into space on the space shuttle.
Well,
61,000. How much was it for the other?
600 on the space shuttle.
So 60,000 versus 600.
60,000 versus 1,400.
I have to move us forward.
Sorry,
Sora, are you with me? No, she stepped away.
Me and Skep, we're just nerding.
No, it's okay. I mean, we can all nerd together. But
Yeah.
I like a good
move on.
I like a good conspiracy theory every now and then. So I was confronted with this when talking to some people. This has got to be a pretty bad conspiracy theory. Maui theory about blue objects being saved from wildfires is baseless. This is actually a thing that people believe, that rich people and people who were in the know, who knew about like the fire creating death laser, knew to paint their houses blue. And part of the foundation for this is that Oprah and a bunch of other people have painted their house some weird shade of blue. This is an amazing conspiracy theory. Why do people want to believe this stuff? Because there's no space laser running around zapping Lahaina. They said the same sort of nonsense about the Paradise Fire a few years ago. Why is it that there's people out there that want to believe that people are getting killed with lasers that start huge fires? I don't understand the motivation. Maybe somebody can explain it to me.
Well, think
It's like aliens, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scott.
Oh, go ahead,
Right,
Skep.
I was going to say, think about most people's association with the Hawaiian Islands. Hawaii is a place you go on vacation. It's a place of leisure, fun, very positive. And that leads to a lot of, stereotypes about that. I think the view from without is very different from the view within of these fires. I think these people on Maui, they should be pissed off sideways about the way almost every bit of this has been handled. Then people think, well, these are all rich people. These are not rich people. I know the area where these people live, and that's where the people who work for the rich people live. This is that part of Maui. And it's still nice. It's still very beautiful and all that stuff. But it's, I don't know. This whole thing has just left a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
The silly thing about the house being painted blue or all, whatever, probably has some vague association with the fact if you go into Africa, for example, you see United Nations blue all over the place. Of the people who have housing, I think in Africa, a substantial number of them live under tarps made from UN tarps, blue tarps, that the UN passes out,
Detroit skylights.
for that reason.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I guess it could maybe that's where it's coming from. That's just speculation. But in any case, it's inane. And it irritates me that it draws away from the very real concern, the place where we really ought to focus our concern. And that was on those poor people who are not rich people. They're, and they're Hawaiian natives. They work for these guys and they just got burned out of their homes. And now they're being treated like shit by their government. And the outside world thinks, oh, they're just a bunch of rich people. And they're not. They're, it just made me feel real sad.
Well, their mayors are Well, I guess they're calling him like the mayor of Maui. Maui's not a town, but anyway, this is what they were calling him in the news. And so this guy, he was being asked directly, how many kids, what about the missing kids? How many kids are missing? And he just wouldn't answer the question. He ended the news conference because he just did not want to answer the question.
It's a huge number, and it's a big problem.
I think this guy should be the mayor of Chicago. He's with skills like that, he should screw up a much bigger place than Maui. Bunch of assholes. But there is an element of I feel kind of like there's a bit of an element of hate the rich involved here. I understand that these rich people are left-leaning, right? But I'm not really on board with any sort of... You can hate them because they're left-leaning. You can hate them because they're influential. But I don't think it's healthy for anybody, even for yourself, to run around hating rich people just because they're rich. I mean,
right.
It feels like that's sort of creeping into the narrative. It's like, well, why doesn't Oprah pay for the reconstruction? Well, why should Oprah pay for the reconstruction? What is this all of a sudden? People on sort of our side of things going, well, why doesn't Oprah pay for it? Well, why should she? It's not Oprah's responsibility to pay for all that stuff. Now, as a good person, she should voluntarily use some of her money for philanthropic purposes to help these people. But that doesn't mean that she's on the hook for it just because she's rich, or that people who are rich painted their houses a different color because they somehow got a secret memo from the laser cabal. Anyway, sorry, I don't mean to drag this out further than it needs to go.
Right, I am going to say,
the
though,
laser cabal.
Yeah.
The US is doing a lot of research at the moment into directed energy weapons, laser weapons.
Yeah.
So it is happening, and apparently one of the things that was happening on one of the islands. But about the blue houses, I've no idea, because that's just, again, smoke screen.
Yeah. 3 words: motive, means, and opportunity. I apply that to all such things like this. I just can't be. No, this is nonsense. But here's something that completely surprised me. This is filed under a category I'm calling "Wait, what?" Because I didn't know that this was even a thing. Come on.
I work for the company that takes people or pets' ashes, these are human, and create diamonds from them. And this is how to grow a blue diamond.
Yeah, wait, what? People send their ashes to a company and make diamonds out of them? Is this something that people knew about? Because I didn't.
Diamonds?
Yeah, they take the carbon out of human remains or pets' remains.
Yes.
They process it.
So far, so good.
And they create artificial diamonds from the remains of your loved one. So presumably you can wear your loved one as a necklace or something. Functional, you sounded like you know about this.
I've heard about it.
Hang on, can I just jump in very quickly to address Assassin in the chat? Yeah, it's very much Hanlon's razor. It's stupidity rather than malice.
Oh yeah, always go with stupidity
rather than malice. So right, that's it. Carry on. I have no idea about blue diamonds.
Well, okay, first of all, making diamonds different colors is not a trick. Okay.
No.
That's not the amazing part. The part that amazes me is that these people are actually turning human remains into diamonds. And so then my next question is, would you want your loved ones to be turned into a diamond? Maybe this is just something that I can't wrap my head around.
I'll let you know when I get some loved ones.
So if your cat passes away prematurely and you didn't want to not have your cat around, would you turn your cat into like a little blue diamond?
I mean, it's better than having the urn of ashes.
I want to see this. I want to see this diamond come out.
Oh, it's easy to make artificial diamonds.
Well, I know. We do it all the time, but I want to see how they do this. I want to see the finished product
and lots of heat.
A little bit creepy.
Well, they basically extract the carbon into a nice pure carbon disc. Then they apply temperature and pressure. You know, they have to give a seed. There's the seed to basically start it and color it.
You have to seed those.
Yep.
I do know.
Is this jewelry like from
Yeah.
cremated ashes? Neat.
All right. Well, you get carbon. You get carbon out of the ashes.
Yeah, and then you make a diamond
Yeah,
out
you
of the
just still-
carbon.
Well, you need.
And then
what is
you
it,
bequeath it to your
aluminum-
children, and you will never
aluminum
leave them.
You need aluminum chromate to make the blue, right?
Yep.
Or
And they come in all sorts of different colors. So you can make your dead loved ones into whatever color gemstone you want.
that's outstanding.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
But can you dope it with chromium and make them into a giant pulse laser? That's what I want to know.
How many diamonds could you get out of a human? I'm just thinking,
Yeah,
I
well,
would
we're all
like to have
thinking that
less
now.
Diamonds, and the world needs a few less humans, and that I have a list. And
Mm-hmm.
My engagement ring is made out of grandma.
yeah, exactly. Grandma got run over by a hydraulic press.
Yeah, you could.
If people are gonna go ape shit and pay billions of dollars for like a Michael Jackson diamond, like it's.
Oh God, that would
Nice.
creep me out.
Okay, so at least somebody had heard of this. I was completely unaware that this was an option.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They started with the pets because slowly pushing the boundaries, and then they.
Well, there's rules
But
about
the
what you
thing
can do with
is-
human remains too.
You can do. I mean, turning them into diamond is one thing, but at the funeral home, you can buy special little trinkets, and if you cremate your dead family member, they'll separate a bit of ash, and you can wear it like a locket or bracelet that you can wear on you all the time.
Wow.
As an
That's
option.
just tacky.
Well,
Some people, that's how some people grieve, though. I think it's a little. I don't like the idea of separating the remains. I just feel like it should stay all together, but it's an option.
make a bigger diamond.
Just
So it's like
the
bling,
whole-
just
cannibalistic wizard.
Can we turn
Need to raise some-
dead people into bullets?
sure,
Yeah.
sure. Well,
Got useless relatives? Turn them into cash.
well, okay.
Cash.
This next
Oh,
thing.
1-800 gold now.
Oh yeah. Well, this next thing.
I'm the cash man, and I'll pay for your grandma.
I hope Assassin didn't eat too much sodium tonight, because this is definitely going to raise his blood pressure and a number of others. Have you guys heard about this? New Mexico governor issues order suspending the right to
Yes.
carry firearms in public across Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did it with a public health declaration.
Yep.
But she said only when she declares the emergency, which she promptly did for Albuquerque,
Yeah.
the city of my birth.
Okay, let me give you an idea of just how dumb this is.
How dumb is it?
Even David Hogg thinks it's the wrong thing to do.
No,
Even
doesn't
David
want to be
Hogg
identified.
says, I support gun safety, but there is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception to the U.S. Constitution.
Putting daylight between him and her.
Holy shit.
He is a
No.
mad. He is a crazy gun grabber. He doesn't want to be identified with her because he sees somebody on a bobsled to Red Ink. And she is.
Well, here's
she's
Ted.
on a highway to hell.
Ted Lieu, blue check mark. I support gun safety laws. However, this order from the governor of New Mexico violates the U.S. Constitution. No state in the union can suspend the federal Constitution. There is no such thing as a state public health emergency exception in the U.S. Constitution. Even your allies aren't supporting you.
Right.
Yeah, that's how you know you've maybe gone a little
The
bit too
Dems are
far.
walking away from her. This is all about putting daylight between them and her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're doing the whole covering their own tails, because I mean, even for the most loony of the gun grabbers, I mean, this is no.
A little bit of a tinfoil hatty thing. Like, this seemed kind of like, with everything else that's going on, another test to see, okay, do this. Well, you know what? Now we need to suspend habeas corpus because of the climate emergency, is a health emergency or something, or we can suspend voting rights because it's a health emergency. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous. This person lock her up. I know it's kind of cliche to say, but lock her up. That's fuck you. She's a fucking monster.
She's pretty terrible. And there was a news conference where she basically said that she took an oath, but she's not basically bound to support the Constitution. Absolutely. Yeah, you actually are.
You fucking are.
She took an oath of office saying she would uphold the Constitution. And I guess she didn't pinky swear or something when she did it, so it doesn't count.
No. Let me explain that, because I've taken that oath, that exact oath, except it's for commissioned officer. They mean it, and you better mean it.
Yeah.
And you can be held liable if you violate the responsibilities you take on when you take that oath.
Yeah. I took the oath too, Skep, and it was for a much less serious thing than you did. But even for what I was doing it for, I took it pretty damn seriously.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I registered for the draft on my 18th birthday, so I mean that's sort of the way I work. So you'd think we're all in agreement here. Even David Hogg's in agreement. What do you think CNN's headline was for this? Anybody want to take a guess what CNN said about this?
You're all wrong. She was right.
New Mexico governor orders suspension of open carry and New Mexico governor orders suspension of open and concealed carry of guns in Albuquerque. Wow, that headline changed. I should have saved it because it was a way more lefty headline before. I should have archived it. Yeah, this used to basically just be them stroking her for being a genius about public safety.
Hang on. I'll find you the archive. Right.
Yeah.
You gotta find the right record. It's good. That's a good idea, Spud.
Yeah. Well.
No, can you drop the link in the side chat?
Sure. We are going to have to move on here. I'll put it in
there. Yeah, you can move on. It's just if I've got the link, it's going to be easy to find as well.
I'm going to send it to you directly because I have dark mode set on the thing and I can't read anything I'm typing. It's done. Oh wait, that's the wrong thing. Okay, well anyway, we've got to move on. It's not really an important point. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's see, where are we? Things I find annoying, science, technology, conspiracy. Okay, we're going to skip that. Oh, that's right, we're in I'm with the government and I'm here to help. Okay. Yeah, that's what this thing is. Okay, 90-year-old woman confronts police raiding her home.
Right, can you send that, please?
I don't like this one. This is heartbreaking.
Coming your way right now.
There we are.
Local Kansas newspaper, Marion County Record. And what you're looking at is police raiding the home of that paper's 98-year-old co-owner and the mother of the editor of the paper, Joanne Meyer. She collapsed and died the day after the raid.
Yeah, they went into a 98-year-old woman's house. She's co-owner of a local paper in a very small town. Now, the police
it's in your Twitter.
Didn't like some of the things they were saying or the way they were doing some things, so they decided to raid her house and the offices of the newspaper. And then the next day, she basically died, which is not good. Now, this has created some amount of controversy because it looks like it was intimidation of an old woman and the press, and there's nothing behind it. In fact, the judge who issued the warrant has since rescinded it. And I love in this article, they actually say that most of the computers seized by the agents have been returned. And I'm thinking to myself, why aren't all of them returned?
Yeah, why most?
Why most? How about all? But this looks like just nothing more than them trying to intimidate these people by going into a 98-year-old woman's house and getting her so upset that she basically died the next day. Yeah, I'm genuinely, this is not an act. I'm genuinely pissed off about this. The judge who did this there's a good chance the judge who issued this warrant was lied to, because police do this all the time in order to get a warrant. You go to a judge that's good at, agreeable. about writing these warrants and stuff. But yeah, this is going to blow up in their face. It's just not good. And this was in Kansas, in just a little town with only a few thousand people that live there. But the police got upset. Allegedly, the justification was that she had done something involving identity theft. And all that they did was they did a search of public records with the DMV there about whether or not somebody who ran a restaurant in town had a driver's license or not. That's all they did. They didn't request any extended information for which there are special requirements. All they did was look in a public database to get publicly accessible information. That's all they did.
Wow.
They committed no crime whatsoever. So the police just wanted to intimidate them because of a complaint. That was a pretext for going in after them, right? Because they'd made some comments about the police and questions about the police. So they intimidated them, and they intimidated this poor 98-year-old woman to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Not much more we can say about that, because the government is still here to help. This part I actually think is interesting. Now, the French, as much as I like to make...
Don't worry about dying anymore.
I know. Yeah. So as much as I like to make fun of the French, they are pretty interesting about their keeping secular things secular. You say, oh, I have a religious exemption. No, you don't. You don't get to wear, an abaya in school. So that's the latest thing they're saying. France is going to ban female students from wearing abayas in state schools.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to create a secular society. If you don't want to live in a secular society, don't move to France. That's my short answer.
You put your child in a religious school that matches your religion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Well, where are you going to find a Muslim school in France?
Maybe they took the ashes from Notre Dame and turned it into a diamond that they can... I don't know. Never mind. Sorry, what were we talking about?
Yes. So France wants to be secular. These no, we're special. This is religious and cultural. They'll try every dodge in the world to say no, it's not really religious, it's cultural.
Yep.
And it's our cultural expression. We can't live our full lives. We can't live our best lives. What about my lived truth?
Yeah, I don't care about your polygamy. I don't care about your peyote. I don't care about. Honestly, as much as I like Sikhs, I don't care about your desire to carry a silver dagger in a school. Yeah, exactly. I just don't. You can believe whatever you want to believe, practice your religion, but the exercise of ritualistic things that are in conflict with the laws that we all have to abide, no, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
Get to do that.
But it's not fair. You can wear a cross around your neck and it's easily hidden.
Yeah, and how does that impose on somebody else's rights?
Right, here's the thing.
Well, that's true. Right. They can't show it, though. But Sora actually, sorry, I'll get right to you. But yeah, Sora mentioned it's the public display that's the issue. Nobody knows that somebody's wearing a cross underneath their shirt. But if they want to wear like a big old T-shirt that says Jesus is awesome, that could cause a problem.
Jesus is my homie.
Yeah, Jesus is my homie. It's because Jesus Christ is my N-word. Love that video.
So, Jesus was a member of the pre-World War II. What?
Don't think about it. Just accept it, Skep. Sorry, Gundog, you were going to... Or, sorry, Spud Gun. I'm being stupid. What were you going to say when I cut you off?
Right. Basically, you've got to remember I live in the UK. In England more specifically. We have this type of issue.
Yeah, basically, that's understatement.
Thank you. It's a British thing. But basically, you've got the third world moving to the first world and wanting to turn it into the third world. Mm-hmm. You've got, you have to do this because I say so, because it's my religious freedom. And it's like, yeah, no, your religious freedom led to hundreds and thousands of young English and Sikh girls getting raped because people didn't want to upset the apple cart, get fucked. And I am... Right. England specifically, is a Protestant country. Okay? The Scots have weird things going on, which is absolutely fine. Okay? The Welsh, well, sheep mostly. But we're allowing our culture to be erased. And the thing is, everybody says, what is British culture? What is English culture? The thing is, because we basically colonized the entire planet, English/British culture is so pervasive. Everybody is steeped in it.
Well, in the Anglosphere, certainly.
Even in the non-Anglosphere.
There's parts like that, yeah.
Well, there's parts that are more influenced by the French than the English, for instance. There's places in Asia where the French got there first and it's more French. And there's places where the Portuguese had more influence, or the Spanish. So, yes, but it is really the Anglosphere that's primarily there. Although, obviously, there's English influence in a lot of other places, at least where the Portuguese, French, and Spanish didn't get there first. But... sorry, I didn't mean to actually you in the middle of your thing. I apologize.
No, you're absolutely fine. I don't mind. We're having polite and free and frank discussions, and I enjoy that. Nobody's getting angry, and afterwards we're all going to be friends. I like grown-up conversation occasionally.
I like actually used as a transitive verb.
Yeah, I did just do that, didn't I? That's pretty awesome.
That was amazing.
But no, I understand. It's even if you look at, like, with the spread of technology, even the francophone parts of the world are being steeped in the Anglosphere. I'm going to say ideology, but it's not really an ideology. It's more just a way of being, and because we went around and planted flags in things.
That's true, except for the moon. That was us. Well, you guys still can't decide amongst yourselves whether it's scone or scone. So, I mean,
scone.
You better get to work on that. Sorry, what were you going to say, Functional and Sora?
Well, we covered a story a while ago about how they were doing something very similar to this in Quebec, in public,
in
government
public
buildings,
office.
Public office. You couldn't wear a cross, a Star of David, a religious head covering, and like anything that was religious, they wanted to wipe it out. And they said, "We don't care what you say, Anglosphere. We're doing what we're doing. This is our fucking province. Suck it up, Buttercup." And I agree with it then. I agree with it here. I think there needs to be more of that, to be honest. I don't care what you do at home. But if you want to be a school teacher in a public school that badly, or you want to send your kids to that school specifically, then yeah, you got to abide by their rules, whoever they are, whatever education board or government body, their rules. You don't like it, you can always advocate to change it, but you know what? It's very popular. People don't want to keep the secular parts of the culture secular. It's fine. Even some religious people are like, yeah, it's fine. I don't care. They come home and your God will understand if to do this job you have to take your cross off, and He's not going to be cross with you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I feel like we're all agreeing far too much, so I'm going to move it on to the next thing. Of course, we're going to agree about this next thing, too.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
The agreeable stream.
Gavin Newsom wants to transform San Quentin State Prison. The council advising him can meet in secret. So, yeah, during the last set of budget negotiations, he basically got a bunch of money thrown into the budget for them to turn a badass prison where you do not want to go into something more like a college campus. There's going to be like a quad and a communal area, and
good like Jesus Christ. Like the Danish prison.
Yeah,
it's the Norwegian prisons. Those are the ones that are.
Yeah. So it says. Sorry, go ahead.
With the Norwegian prisons, right, the ones that are in, it's basically like open prisons in the UK. It's all the low risk, sort of non-violent offenders that go there, and it's done for people who are due to be released. So everybody's saying, well, the Norwegians do this, don't understand the actual system they're critiquing.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a little context here.
Yeah.
State lawmakers initially balked at Newsom's $360 million plan to tear down an old furniture factory on the prison grounds. So essentially, prison labor, they would earn a little bit of money by making furniture. And usually they'd make it for places in the government, stuff like that. The government's usually the people who buy stuff like this, much like a lot of the pens and things. $360 million to convert one large building, okay? They're going to replace the building, something more reminiscent of a college campus with a student union, classrooms, and possibly a coffee shop. But they eventually greenlit the project during state budget negotiations, trading away transparency provisions and a formal oversight role for themselves in the process. Not only are they giving him $360 million to refurbish this one building into something more aimed at rehabilitation instead of punishment, which is their words, not mine. But they're not going to have any oversight over how the money is used or spent going forward. Not only that, but the meetings of the people making the decisions about how the money is going to be spent are able to be in secret without public notes.
Can you say graft?
Well, like I said, was it motive means opportunity? With this kind of money floating around, just think about all the special interests he can pay off with that $360 million. You know, by giving them business at inflated rates and that sort of thing. And it won't be anything that you can just point your finger at. It wouldn't be like BLM, let's just buy ourselves some houses money. It'll be a little bit less corrupt than that, but not much.
In fact, that's worse corruption, right? Because BLM were corrupt and they made it clear they were corrupt from the get-go, whereas the government always pretends to be on the up and up.
Yeah, this has the veneer of being...
respectability.
Respectability. Well, anyway, shall we... I think we're all agreeing about this too, so we should probably move forward. Do I want to cover this or not? Sure. Mother of trafficked Virginia girl sues school district over secret gender transition. This woman...
Wait, what?
Yeah. Should this be in the wait, what thing?
Right. I'm going to sit out of this one because I don't want you guys banned.
A Virginia mother is suing her local school district in federal court, saying staff there secretly transitioned her daughter, putting her in such dangerous situations that she ran away only to be kidnapped and sex trafficked. That's the gist of it. Essentially, they took
where was this printed?
This is in the Washington Examiner.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's a reputable paper.
Well, at least reputable enough. Yeah.
I mean, it's semi-mainstream.
Well, even if this had a byline by Tyler Durden, I still think the facts of it are not. The facts of it are there. They're on record. You know, that's the advantage of having a lawsuit.
Are you joking?
Yeah. She filed a lawsuit against the Appomattox County School Board and district staff, as well as Baltimore, Maryland area public defender Anessa Khan, who is accused in the lawsuit of conducting a series of acts aimed at depriving Mrs. Blair of custody of her daughter and keeping Sage in Maryland to be affirmed in a male identity. They stole my right to protect my daughter, Blair told the Washington Examiner. I'm the parent. I'm the expert on my child, yada, yada, yada. We know that sort of stuff. Hey, it's not Tavistock, at least. We're just dealing with small numbers of kids here. But yeah, this poor kid was basically driven into a bad psychological state to the point where they ran away from home and ended up having bad people do bad things to them.
Yeah, explain what happened. Does that article cover what happened afterwards?
No, we just used the word sex trafficking.
No, okay. What happened was the child was taken and recovered, and then while she was a ward of the state, she was trafficked again.
Oh, God. Wow.
Yeah.
Christ.
I hope this woman sues them into oblivion. Honestly, I look forward to more mothers suing them, and actually kids suing their parents when it's the parents pushing the stuff. I'm not in favor of lawsuits normally, but what else can you do at this point?
You could flay the lawyers who permitted this to happen. I like flaying.
This isn't Green Lantern.
You could also boil them in oil. I'm so.
I think isn't there a comic book where they where the lawyer, basically the loser, has to share the fate of the defendant or something? I don't know.
I think these people. I'm going to be a little bit tempered. I think the rope is too good for them. I think these people should
I'd run it through their intestines in sort of a flossing type of arrangement.
We in Europe, because we were really scummy hundreds of years ago, we actually had where somebody would be strapped at 4 points.
Are you going to get me in a lot of trouble here?
Yeah, careful.
I think we should steer. I think we should veer far away from the torture museum.
This is an old torture method.
Yeah, I know that, but that doesn't mean we should talk about it.
Yeah.
No.
We need to not talk about it on the channel.
It's sad to say that
it's not grandfathered in.
I have to ask: is this the one that escaped to Texas or the one that escaped to like Minnesota? Because there were multiple cases of this.
Yeah.
There were multiple
and
cases of
it really kills me to have to say this because, like, what the fuck? Why is there fucking
Sage, again in fear for
trafficking
her
of children?
safety, ran away from the facility and was again found by another pedophile who brought her to Texas, where bad things happened repeatedly. So she didn't escape to Texas. She was taken across state lines to Texas.
Right. And then, So then she was rescued by the FBI, I believe, and then was returned.
But you know,
to her home state.
The terrible details of this case are not really the issue. I know they're terrible.
Well, it is because there's multiple cases. I want to know which one we're.
You want to know which of the victims we're talking about? Yeah.
I mean, they're all equally fucking fucked up and disgusting. But I want to know. Just clarify.
Well, a few weeks ago, the mother who they tried to transition their kid at a little tiny town here in Central California. She got $100,000 as a lovely parting gift from a tiny school district. And the issue there is it's not the individuals who do these things that get punished. It's the school district taking money that should be used to provide an education. And in the case of like a tiny town like Spreckles, $100,000 is a lot of money. The wrong people are being punished here. That's the thing.
It should be a personal liability.
But they're protected, and maybe if we're going after something, that would be a place to start. It's like when you break certain types of laws, you need to be personally liable. Because we're not talking about like the corporation shielding your personal assets in a company. It's not that kind of thing here. We're talking about people that are committing terrible acts that cause real harm to people that cannot be made whole even by money.
That's right. That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah, it's just that we need to change the way the whole legal system works with these people, because it's like if you do certain types of bad things, you need to just be personally responsible, not just civilly but criminally.
The laws are the ones who do this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. People who have been flayed generally don't be found. I'm just saying.
The thing is, the law isn't about justice. It's about protecting itself. It's about protecting its own system.
Yeah, Well, here's a story about a woman in Minnesota. She's she's a higher up in the DFL, and I didn't know what the DFL was. It's some affiliate of the Democratic Party there. It's the Democrat Farm Labor Party. Yeah. Party. But they're an affiliate of the Democrats. So she is a big defund the police type person. Well, she got attacked outside of her house, and they took her car, and they did this to her in front of her kids. And man, she certainly did go full law and order after this happened to them. These criminals will not win. We need to take back our city, and this will not be the last you hear from me about this. Shemp wrote on Facebook, we need to get illegal guns off our streets, catch these young people who are running wild, creating chaos over our city, and hold them in custody and prosecute them. Well, how are you going to do that if you defund the police?
I spoke intemperately about our fellow citizens. I regret my hasty remarks, and I realized that the people who attacked me were just being frisky and friendly. Maybe
they thought she had some bread in her car. You know, shitty American bread, not fit for baked beans. Anyway, I'm sorry that this woman got hurt. Just because she's an idiot, that doesn't mean that she needs to have crime happen to her. But, I agree. Well, if you look up irony in the dictionary, there is this picture.
I entirely disagree. How people like you're not going to learn. If you fuck up so badly that you cause something like this to happen, she caused this. She is fully deserving of what she got. Who isn't fully who doesn't deserve any of this are her children.
Won't somebody think of the children?
Who not only are the criminals at fault, she's also at fault. She is part of the problem that said, no, we don't need police. And then shit like this, violent crime escalates, and then she becomes the victim of it. And now she's all high and mighty. No, we have to stop crime. And blah, 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 blah. No, you're done. You're done. Get out of the spotlight. You no longer get to speak. I don't fucking care. They should have beaten you to the point where you cannot speak, because there are cops out there because of this woman's bullshit who are in a vegetative or near vegetative states because of these fucking assholes. So no, she should have gotten fucking worse. And I'm sorry to go off on such a fucking rant, but I cannot fucking stand people like her who are destroying society and get to walk away I'm the victim. No, you're not the victim. You're the fucking problem.
Yeah, I bet she probably figured nothing like this would ever happen to her. I'll bet you she lives in a nice place, drives a nice car, which is why the people who from elsewhere came to the nice place and took her nice car.
She just had the nice people who would have defended her.
And I'm guessing probably pistol whipped her at the same time. Yeah.
And I think somebody also unearthed a tweet, violence or attacks on property is you can't defend property with violence or something like that. Like one of those stupid, like, if somebody's attacking you, you can't defend yourself. If someone's trying to, not attacking you, trying to steal your stuff, you have no right to enact violence on them to prevent them from doing so. And it was that's why I fucking hate this woman and people like her.
Well, I don't want to get into sort of victim blaming, because the primary responsibility for this is the people who committed the crime. I do think that it is ironic, and it couldn't happen to a nicer person than her. Because, I mean, if it's going to happen to somebody, it might as well happen to her. But I don't want to take any of the primary responsibility away from the people who actually did the bad thing.
I mean, like the story we had with the 98-year-old woman.
Yep.
The cops are completely in the wrong.
Well, we need more individual cops who will just refuse to participate in these things. I'm sorry.
Harry, I'm going to strongly disagree with you, okay, because she facilitated the act.
No, the people who did the violent thing, who chose to do that, they individually
are... the violence, she facilitated
Facilitating is not this... No, they made the decision to do this, something that's legally and morally wrong. The fact that she contributed to a culture that made them feel like they could get away with it, right? Because of the defunding. I mean, she took away a number of the disincentives, but the moral and ethical and legal problem is still in the hearts and minds of those boys that did this. We can disagree about that if you want. That's fine.
No.
I believe we shall
you
disagree.
guys are not disagreeing. You're agreeing violently, and you're just emphasizing different points.
Yeah.
You know, you neither one of you.
She should have just driven a car that didn't look so nice. She was really asking for it.
Yeah.
Wait, did I say that? Never mind. Breadmobile.
Well, she's a politician, so...
Yeah, I try just as a general rule. I mean, it's more a guideline than a rule. Okay. Just not to blame victims, even if I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it did give me a semi when I heard about this.
Yeah.
Because it was like, oh,
I got a half chub myself.
Okay. Well, the next things are functional. Are you in fighting form? You ready to go?
Sure.
Because this is entertainment, the next two things, so I'm going to be leaning on you heavily. Paramount.
Oh, is this the
Paramount DMCA claim against fan-made Star Trek project is a huge mistake. So, a bunch of fans wrote a piece of fiction collectively, or collaboratively, I guess, involving the battle from TNG at Wolf 359 with the Borg. Okay, yeah. It's like a 500-page long PDF. Not a movie. This isn't Axonar. This is a piece of fan fiction that these people wrote and handed out for free on the internet. Yeah. And those... Okay, I'm trying hard not to swear as much. Those assholes came down on them and essentially legally tried to throttle them to keep them from spreading their fan fiction thing around. Now, this is just an opinion piece in CBR. I mean, I agree that, I mean, as a business decision, I think this is really, really short-sighted because you're already having enough trouble in the entertainment industry with the writer's strike and all the problems with these movies not making the money they used to.
Piss off some of your fans.
Why not just take a huge dump on your most hardcore fans? Why not just do that?
The only thing keeping Star Trek alive and still selling box set DVDs and merch and stuff are the people who do this stuff. Like, they are basically giving free advertising to something that a lot of people see as dead. Star Trek is kind of dead. The new stuff is trash. TOS, TNG, DS9, Voyager, Enterprise, whatever. Like, people are still buying that merch. And like you said, they're having problems because nobody gives a shit about the, like, very few people comparatively give a shit about the new stuff to make up that gap of why they're alienating fans. It makes, okay, legally, can they do this? Yes. Should they do it? No, you shouldn't. Fan art, fan fiction, even Disney stopped and said, wait, whoa. You want to go after cosplayers? I don't fucking think so.
Yeah.
Like, even they were smart enough to go, no, that's a really bad idea. You don't go after the fans expressing themselves and appreciating the stuff. Some kid is eventually going to pick up this Battle of Wolf 359 thing and then be like, where is this? What is this set in? Where is this world? They will be turned on to Star Trek. And they will go, wow, awesome. I want to be a part of this now. And it, like I said, it's just free advertising, free exposure.
Yeah.
And hell, so I've read some of those stories because it's a collection of tales of different perspectives of what happened when the Borg cube attacked, was going towards Earth, and the huge fleet of Starfleet ships went to engage. So it has the new captain from Picard season 3. He was a member of the fleet at the battle. He was one of the few survivors. There's some recounts of Ben Sisko, like, and then a whole bunch of like made up characters and stuff. And so I read some of the stories that were really good. If anything, okay, I hate what, sort of go off on a little bit of a tangent, but I hate what Games Workshop does because they do really come down heavy with DMCA on a lot of stuff. they were smart enough to pull back the reins on the game streamers, the people who play their games on YouTube. However, the people who made fan-made animations got big legal threats, and they said GW actually did something right here, and in a sense, and said, okay, we're not going to go after you legally. We want you to come work for us. We like what you did, but you're kind of, stealing our IP. But if you come work for us, hey, everybody's a winner. And so, a lot of the independent creators who made short videos and stuff for YouTube and whatever, they were like, yeah, sure, why not? I could get paid to do something I'm going to love. I can quit my office job or whatever and go do that. This is their similar moment in which they should be like embracing the people who wrote some of this stuff, and for the better stories, the better aspects and characters, they should approach some of these writers, because again, it's a 500-page manuscript from several dozen different people. Approach some of the better ones and be like, hey, we'd like to buy some of your ideas. We want to use some of your.
Oh, I can assure you that's not the way their brain works.
Yeah. No. I was just going to say,
shame.
That is not how they acquire.
In fact, if anything, the reason for them coming down on them is to make sure that if they don't accidentally copy, this is all stuff that if they now make a movie
preventative
using any of this stuff that's in the book, they're essentially, it's like they've painted them into a corner.
Exactly. Right. Stop using up all the ideas, because when you touch them, they're poison for us.
Yeah, well, there's an similar situation happened in the gaming space. I don't know if you guys have heard of a game called Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. It's a city builder.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah,
it actually is.
A lot of planning.
Yes.
A lot of planning.
A lot of planning.
A lot of 5-year plans, miss.
A lot of committees.
Where do we put the firing squad?
But we do have another entertainment thing we need to get to.
No,
okay. Harry has something he wants to get to. So.
But go ahead and finish your thought, Spud, and then we'll move on.
Basically, there was a realism mod made, and the developer of the game incorporated bits of it into the actual main game. And the creator of the mod tried to basically had it took down from Steam for about a week and a half because he said, hang on, this is using my work, and they basically had to come to an agreement and get it sorted, so it's now back on Steam. But it's the similar thing. It's the instead of going scorched earth, try and talk to people, because people will generally respond better to, hey, can we try this?
Are you familiar with what GitHub is?
Yes.
Okay. So you notice that in GitHub, people can put out projects that are open source. And sometimes these are pieces of commercial software, right, that are available under more generous licensing, sometimes for academics. But you go to GitHub, you can essentially fork the source code for some commercial product. And then you can create something of your own based on that. And then you send them a note and say, hey, I've got this really cool new feature. Would you like to basically pull this into your source code? There are relationships that exist in this kind of open source collaborative ecosystem where when you do that, you basically say, I'm doing this with the knowledge and my consent that you can take this work and do what you want to do with it, to basically pull it back into the community. You might get attribution. They might thank you for your contribution. You might get a free potholder or a sleeveless T-shirt. Lots of things might come your way, but you're not going to get a bunch of money for it, right? There are ways you could do this where you simply say, these are the rules. You create a fan fiction beyond, a certain size or whatever. You contact us. We'll give you a license in return. We can use these things that are in here of the story or not use them any damn way we want. There are ways that they can cover themselves legally. In terms of the rights to something like this fan fiction thing. But instead of working with the community, to basically build the fan base and keep that fan base happy, they've decided to just do what American entertainment companies love to do, which is just use the law to stomp on people because they're just short-sighted and they don't see any upside to taking the risk.
Yeah.
That's their job. And I mean, I think I've told you some of the stuff that I've gone through after the show, and I can't talk about it on stream. But yeah, I know I've been on the receiving end of this kind of stuff before. So, yeah.
And just before we move on, I don't know if you've noticed, that's John Delancey as a Borg.
Yeah.
That's from a very rare card from the trading card game, Q of Borg.
Nice.
It's interesting because it's like, you know, if you're a Star Trek fan, it's kind of cute because like he introduced Picard to the Borg to like get air quotes get him ready for the Borg, but
kind of humble him a little bit. It's like
but like this is the only sort of like picture of him as a Borg himself, so it's really cool.
Yeah,
that's actually terrifying. A member of the Q was the Borg.
Oh yeah.
Friend of mine tried to give me a hard time because I had this Bluetooth headset on. This is like 10 years ago, and it had like a flashing LED on it. And they said, "What are you, Harry of Borg?" I said, "No, I'm Loquacious of Borg."
Loquacious Borg.
Loquacious.
Yeah, anyway.
I'm Laquanda of Borg. What you want?
Loquacious.
Loquacious.
Let's see.
Is an actual word, too.
We do not need to spend a whole bunch of time talking about this.
Oh, God.
But you're aware of heel versus babyface, aka Az, going off on his rant about the pronouns in Starfield. Yeah. If they don't matter, then why is it that all the mods that change the pronouns back to just he, him, and she, her keep getting banned by them? I mean, if the pronouns don't matter, why is it that they're stomping on any mods that change the game to not have lots of gender fluid pronouns?
I never looked into this. So is it just so instead of would you like a feminine body or a masculine body? Now they're asking what pronouns you want to use. Is that how during customization?
Well, that's at the beginning in the customization.
There's two different things. They've changed it now from male to female. They've changed it in the gaming world to be body type 1, body type 2. Body type 1 is male, body type 2 is female.
Which one has the bonus hole?
In all of them. If you're doing it right.
Which one has the
but in Starfield, it specifically asks you, what are your pronouns? And, to a fucking manlit man baby like Az, somebody like that is going to fucking rage. Me, when I encountered it, even though internally I might be going ape shit like he is if we're going to play the video,
there's a lot of screaming.
I just rolled my eyes, clicked the fucking button, and moved on. Because I wanted to get on with my life, and I'm not going to let this shit stop me. Oh, well, I had to pick if they wanted to call me he or her. Like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
what's more annoying, though, is in the game itself, they keep referring to me as they. And that felt really lazy. Why am I even bothering?
No, that's lazy.
No.
Exactly.
Now I'm going to get on my fucking rage bucket and say, if they're going to take the fucking time to ask me what the fuck my character's pronouns are, then God damn it, call me he or her in the game. You lazy piles of dog shit.
It's like pronouns don't matter because the game treats you the same way regardless. Well, okay, his general argument that he got dumped on by the internet, they came down on him hard, was it's the beginning of the game, I fire this thing up, and the first thing you do is I'm trying to get in the mood for my fantasy world is you start bringing modern gender politics into it. Essentially, right at the beginning, just shocking me right out of my escapism. Just leave me the hell alone. That's basically what he says for about 2 minutes of screaming. I'll give you a sample of the screaming just so you know why I'm not playing the whole thing.
So fucking boring!
Yeah.
Right. But this is his content. This is what he does.
Yeah. This is his shtick. Yeah.
Yeah. He plays the angry fat man on the internet, and because I've seen him on painting streams with Sargon, and he's actually really chill.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the guy, but I mean, I also don't watch all his content either.
No, but he's playing to the audience
Yeah.
Because that's what his brand is. And the thing is, I mean, in the rant, he's basically saying that this shit that you keep trying to force on everyone is boring because it's all the same thing. There's a complete and utter lack of ideas. And I think that's a fair point. I mean, it's Bethesda. So, you know.
Yeah. I don't want to give Bethesda money. I just don't. But we actually have a couple more things that I do want to cover. We're running a little over. And I really want to cover this next two stories. Well, I've got a few more than that. One, and I've got this in a category called scategories. Okay. The U.S. is apparently backed up and running short on laxatives.
You need to tell us something, Mary?
Your fiber, what the hell?
So apparently there's a shortage of certain types of laxatives now, specifically the ones that use polyethylene glycol as an ingredient, like Miralax.
Yeah.
And it seems, some people seem to think that it's because of a TikTok trend, that there are people on TikTok saying that you can have a better life if you just take these types of laxatives.
Yeah. Until your bowels start working on their own and you're going to be incontinent and not able to function at 20 years old.
Well, it says right here,
dumbass.
Gut talk has been a trending topic on the social media platform for quite some time, with influencers claiming to know the best way to reduce bloating, improve mood, and even clear acne by improving your gut health. While some of the provided suggestions are for better gut health are likely to be harmless at worst, such as drinking more water, other ideas may be actively harmful and can include an over-reliance on laxatives.
This is so stupid.
Yeah, and then they say chronic laxative use can worsen a person's constipation further to the point where they need higher and higher doses to pass their stool. They can also cause long-term damage to their intestines and risk rectal prolapse, a condition where your life is pretty terrible. And acute side effects like dehydration or stomach cramps aren't exactly a picnic.
Harry, can I please explain what a rectal prolapse is for those who may not know it?
No, you cannot do any such thing. Now, here's another thing which is in the same category and completely unrelated, or is it? No one was prepared for the diarrhea plane.
Oh, yeah.
On September 1st, a passenger on board a Delta Airlines flight from Atlanta to Barcelona experienced extreme diarrhea, forcing the aircraft to make a U-turn. The incident highlights the complexity of addressing a potentially wide variety of medical emergencies that occurred during a flight, as the flight attendants had no means to clean the mess, such as hazmat or PPE suits. It was really, really bad. So bad, in fact, that they had, there's a recording of it and they're saying, we got to come back. We've got a biohazard thing. And it's like, and the pilot said, there's diarrhea all through the plane.
I saw a photo of this. Yeah, basically
there's diarrhea all through the plane.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, apparently it was, according to this Popular Mechanics article, lots of things can go wrong when flying at 30,000 feet, and airplane malfunction is the least of your worries. Increasing amounts of turbulence due to climate change certainly isn't great. So
this
it's
was
climate change. Climate change made his tummy all oopsie, and then he pooped all over the plane. Yeah.
Yeah,
poor little guy.
It looked like an explosion in a Hershey's factory.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, everybody's been locked in an outhouse that's been rolled down a hill once or twice in their life. Am I right? Because that's basically what happened. But we're not going to dwell on this, because really, what can you say other than diarrhea plane?
Yeah.
Poor person.
Well, the thing of it is, people saying that this was a biohazard. It was not a biohazard, probably, but it was just so sickening.
Maybe you ate Mexican food, Skep. Did you think of that? It's so full of spices.
Yeah, or Indian food, or food from another continent, because they all have spices.
Maybe if he'd just eaten mashed potatoes, peas, and gravy-covered sausages, he wouldn't have had this problem. Just saying.
Exactly.
Sensible food.
Shepherd's fucking pie.
Well, let's move on to, you had one job. Toyota shut down 14 factories due to insufficient disk space. Okay.
Like, wait, like computer?
Yeah.
RLL controller just couldn't handle the load.
Now, I have more questions than I have answers for this, so I apologize.
The Ford. I don't care.
Okay, Skep is going to know. Okay, Skep is going to know what this is probably due to, but you and I are not going to spend 20 minutes explaining this, okay? Let's both be on our best behavior.
I will,
okay.
I promise.
According to a press release from the car maker, the shutdown of these plants was a result of system maintenance that occurred a few days prior. During this maintenance, data that had accumulated in the database was deleted and organized. And an error occurred due to insufficient disk space, causing the system to stop. The company further wrote that the servers were running on the same system as its backup, causing the same issue there, so the company couldn't make a switch. Essentially, they were trying to clean up and migrate their database onto new servers that had additional storage. And during the reorganization of said data, somebody who wasn't very good at their job caused the system to basically run out of disk, and the database got completely screwed. Now, what most people don't know about Toyota is they are a very sophisticated company in terms of how they build cars and manage their supply chain. I mean, so sophisticated, in fact, that a lot of agile methods and things originated inside Toyota. I think Kanban and a few other things did. Anyway, if you read up about Deming and Stephen Covey and those types of things, which I know Skep knows about, there's a lot of talk about what Toyota did in terms of how they modernized after World War II with our help. But they have a supply chain that is extremely adaptable and fantastic. But when all the computers went down, all of their ability to basically get parts to these 14 factories stopped. And they don't maintain a lot of inventory. So they had 14 factories that could do absolutely nothing because there was just nothing there.
Wow.
Ha.
How's your work in process inventory look? Sucks.
Yeah. And actually, I looked at the Ars Technica article that corresponds to this, and it has no additional information. And I looked at several articles, and all they're doing is just pulling bits and pieces from the same press release. So we really don't know, but we know. Yeah. Okay.
If you know.
Okay, we're going to skip this next one. Oh, God. California becomes first state to declare Transgender History Month. So moving forward, every August is going to be Transgender History Month. And I like this.
So will it be illegal to call August? You have to call it Transgender History Month?
I don't know. I think they're still working that out. There's a secret committee somewhere. The recognition of Transgender History Month is meant to create a culture led by research, education, and scholarly recognition of the contribution of transgender Californians. Meaning, we're going to give a lot of money to people who vote for us. That's what that translates to, according to the text of the resolution. According to the resolution, transgenderism existed in California since before European colonization.
Right off.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
So the Ohlone Indians...
The Aztecs were big into that.
The Ohlone Indians, totally trans. Yeah, according to the resolution, transgenderism existed in California since before European colonization. You know, nobody spends enough time talking about the trans Native Americans who lived in California. I feel like there's a gap here. We should really throw some funding at it. The resolution refers to the state as the historical epicenter of the trans liberation movement and says that the transgender history is being erased through recent culture wars in which they are being dehumanized and politicized. I mean, have transgender people ever had it easier than now? Because I feel like this narrative is counter to what we're all observing. I mean, have people ever been more tolerant?
Buildings were stoned.
I mean, have we ever had a time when people have been more tolerant and more just sort of, I guess, accepting of people just living their lives the way they want to live them as long as they leave the kids alone?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care.
What?
I know trans people, it's not a big deal.
Nobody cares and nobody gave a shit until it became a new religion.
But see, not caring is itself racist.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, indifference is the best you're going to get out of me on a lot of topics, Scab.
Not being funny, you know, we have conversations and we've chatted about various things, but beyond that, I don't care what you get up to when you get to your bedroom. It just doesn't interest me. For all I care, you could have a fucking mariachi band in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about a nice article? Sora, are you still with us?
I'm here.
Okay, do you know what a sphinx moth is?
What?
Oh, no.
Sphinx moth.
What do they look like?
They look like this, and I can actually tell you that I have seen them up close. They look like tiny hummingbirds when they're flying around. It rained so much in California that these little tiny moths that essentially hover like hummingbirds are like every, and it has a proboscis. It eats nectar.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, look at it.
It has a wingspan of almost 40. These bird-like creatures seem in abundance this year, so they've seen them all around different parts of the outside of California. I saw one at night outside my office. This is not in the woods. They're like all over the place. It's actually kind of amazing. I
would love to have this around my friend. She would. I think her spirit would leave her body.
They're actually very pretty and very graceful and just lovely little creatures. And I've never seen them in my entire life. This is the first time it's ever rained enough that places that are way too arid for them actually will support them, and they're just cropping up everywhere.
Look at that lovely little thing.
Yeah, I thought you'd like this.
Hummingbird.
I thought you'd like this.
Yeah.
This is very nice.
Yeah.
That is, and you can see the proboscis out, and it's nom 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 nom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I like moths.
Yeah. After
we
all
have,
sorry, go ahead.
I think they're called like elephant moth or something. It's brown with like this neon baby pink stripes. It is fuzzy and it's lovely, and they're quite large. They're not big like bird big, but you know, for I would say maybe toonie sized, which is a Canadian $2 coin.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lovely thing, and I love when they come out.
The toonie, is that like twice as big as a loony? I don't know which.
No, it's the same. It's slightly bigger.
Oh, okay.
Very, very, very minimally.
Right. Skep in the not Skep, sorry, Harry.
Yes, sir.
I've put a picture of an elephant hawk moth in the side chat.
Okay.
If you want to show people what it looks like.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
very pretty.
I like moths.
They are pretty. I looked it up too. Yep. Very nice. They look like little airplanes.
Yes.
This one. Oh, look at that thing.
Isn't that pretty?
Aren't we fancy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think he's got butterfly envy.
That's a fancy pants moth.
Yeah, it is.
I love. There's something so cute about a fuzzy moth, and then it looks at you, and then especially some of the ones that have the big curly antennae, and then they just like twitch to. Oh God, they're so cute. I really like them.
We're glad you're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next thing I have, actually, I really wanted to show when Serenity's here, and it'll get us copy struck anyway. So I think I'm going to err on the side of caution. Oh, that's right. I was originally going to stream on my channel and this channel, and then end it here and then play this on my channel. But since that didn't work, we're just going to stop now. So this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. The zoo is closed.
Thank you, Harry.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Laters.